listening to Bleed TV, the only podcast today's best shows and movies. I'm Zach.
And I'm Cash.
And tonight we got Preacher. This is what episode is this one?
6 or 7? Like, we are rolling through this season.
Yes, we are. It's got a unique name too. What was it?
It was Sokosha.
Sokosha.
And it's episode 6.
Any idea why they call it Sokosha?
I'm not even going to try to bull or anything.
I got nothing.
Yeah.
Got nothing. Drawing straws here.
But I like the name. Sounds sexy.
It was different.
And it was directed by somebody different. Like,
yes, it was
David Evans.
It was a shakeup.
I really like this episode.
I did too, namely because it did some really, really big unveiling of information, and we finally got the showdown, or the OK Corral, if you want to say it.
A lot of answers and
got some unique interpretations of some things that do like and some don't like. So we'll
let's just dive into it. Let's just dive into this bad boy and get into it.
Well, let's just go right into it. First thing we get is this is a salesman, this sharp looking Asian fella.
Yep.
And he's talking to this this African American couple, and they're struggling. Bills are piling up, mortgages after him, things are going bad, and he's like, you won't even miss it. Now, as soon as I'm hearing this, I'm like, this is like he's going to take a kidney from this guy.
Yeah, I have no idea what he's trying to get.
To me, he's like, you're going to take organs.
And so I went on vacation, and I ended up watching this with my brother, coincidentally named Jake. And we're sitting there watching this. I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. And he was like, oh, he's taking a soul. And I was like, no. Out
of left field?
Yeah, I was like, you have a salesman talking to these people who's like, he's taking a soul. I was like, yeah, whatever. And then like they start haggling over the price and stuff. He's like, how much can I give? And he's like 10%, but for 15, it's double. And I was like, that's weird, but okay.
Yeah.
And so comes in through the leg, and it looks like there's like a tumor.
I'm sorry, this looks like blockage on the aorta.
Yeah,
I mean, this is where not knowing what we're grabbing. And then you see the scene, I'm just puzzling. I'm like, okay, does somebody give big money for blockage in a vein?
Yeah, I mean, it looked like the stuff coming out of Jorah Mormont's chest,
Look,
like
with my physique and body, I'm sure I've got tons of blockage I can sell. Who wants it? Come get you some of this.
My only side effects are, a little head loss, a little migraine.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Yeah. Take 30.
Please, write me a check. And so the guy cuts him a check. What was it, $160,000, $150,000?
$150,000. So you're telling me
that 15%
of my soul is only worth $150,000? That's not good.
Yeah, it sounds like the wife's gonna pony up next time.
Oh yeah, I'll be like, hey baby.
So he leaves. He gets in this pretty cool armored truck. He's got this one little seat and table now.
I mean, there's so much soundproof and
waterproof, evidently.
Yeah,
and takes off. And then you go right to this nice big, antebellum style mansion, I guess you say, or a nice beautiful home. And we go inside and we meet Millie.
Mm-hmm.
And Millie looks like a normal, elderly woman, watering plants.
Normal. Oh
Until you get the scene where you realize Millie's got
no pants
nothing on.
She's doing the no pants dance.
It's a half a birthday suit.
Yeah.
And
and bravo, you put random people in half birthday suits and you have a very confused audience.
Yeah. So we come in and we have all this high tech stuff, and we match this file. And so are we to assume that what he just took from the African American fella, this is what matches Millie?
I don't know.
It made me believe that was important.
I don't think it was, just because. But like maybe he did because he said it's close enough. But like just taking a random piece of thing from you and it tells you what your soul is. Yeah. I was a little like, I didn't see that matching up.
I didn't either.
And mainly because like I don't have anything on, like I ever carry anything on my persons that would be like, when I give $1 and be like, hey, my name's Cash, like does this, I don't know.
Well, let's go ahead. We're debating the idea of being able to
test someone's soul from a material object.
Not only that, be able to take parts of it.
Yeah.
As it's attainable.
Well, but I mean, that becomes a big deal because Jesse later in the episode's like, fraction?
I don't care. I just, you can't tell me that you can dig in and get a percentage of a soul.
A soul's not, it's not a physical thing. Like
exactly. And so the show is creating that it is,
yes.
and this truck's loaded down with samples.
Hey, maybe that's why everyone dies immediately. He hits them right in the soul. Boom.
Boom.
It's science.
So he takes this vial, he turns it into a soluble pill, evidently. Gives it to old Millie, and Millie almost has instant recovery.
Yes. And I'm trying to figure out what freaking disease did she have that 15% of a poor person's soul
blockage in the vein. Just amazing. It makes this happen. Yeah, it's just a lot of it's not something you can even debate because you just like, oh, it's not plausible.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about somebody
harvesting souls. Anyway, he goes back out to the armored car, and this is where they show the scene that shows these multiple vials everywhere. And he gets a credit card.
Yep.
I don't know of too many credit cards that allow you to charge $2.7 million.
But that profit, though.
Wow.
But yeah, 2.7 million. Like, do you call your bank ahead? Be like, hey, I'm about to make a known purchase.
Yeah, you're not doing that in the United States because anything over $10,000, you got to let IRS know what you're doing. You know?
Really?
Oh yeah, U.S. banking laws. If you deposit anything over $9,999, you have to let the IRS know what, why, or why. All that good stuff.
Yeah, they need to get their money.
That's right.
They need that.
Well, you get this cash flow. Where's my cut? You know. So it cuts away to this really cool. You see Jesse at the mirror and this really cool steam smoke. Part of me is like, some of this has got to be smoke because it was like the density and the way they did the lighting and everything. I thought the shot was really cool. Yeah. I loved what they did. Thought that was really neat. But I thought there was be more to it. He just kind of did it, and then he comes out, and you see Dennis struggling, coughing, asthma issue. Like, there was nothing to the whole steam bath, you know.
It ended up being pointless and stuff. And
ended up being, and I was like, man, this is a really cool effect I've got on camera with the lighting and how you did stuff. And then it's like,
yeah,
we moved on. Why? I didn't really get that.
No, and you didn't even circle back. At least I don't think. If y'all,
we had another shower scene, but it didn't culminate to anything other than him wiping the screen, wiping his mirror. Goes outside, and Tulip is making pancakes. Pancakes covered. Are these Skittles or M&Ms?
I took it as M&Ms or Reese's Pieces.
I'm really hoping. Well, there are multiple colors.
Yeah,
so we're
going to get M&Ms.
I hope M&Ms, because I got news for you. Skittles on a pancake.
But Skittles,
shoot me now.
Skittles on a pancake is a very Tulip move. But so like, I was sitting there with my brother and his wife, and I was like, "Wait, Tulip can all of a sudden cook now?" And she was like, "Well, she made a pot roast." I was like, "She put peanut butter on that pot roast."
The cooking expertise here, I'm very concerned about.
Yeah, like her ability to all of a sudden so. I don't know. Struggled with a little.
Do you know something I noticed? What I thought was really unique is that they really went all out in this apartment. I froze the picture, and I was looking at the cabinets. The cabinet doors, some of them were different colors. Some were purposely leaning. So there was rusty pots and pans. The room was so well done. I want to give props to whoever your prop master is. Props to prop master.
I want to give props to the props master.
And your set designers and your people on this show. If you guys listen to us, I'm going to tell you, you're bringing the noise, because another show we love that where the background and the what you see in the distance is a character is Into the Badlands. You know, it's just like another character of the show. And I really feel like what y'all are bringing to the table in this New Orleans set is really, really making a difference to why the show enjoys so much.
And I mean, like it's almost like you're in a New Orleans home because
exactly.
And like they've got all the old furniture and all of that stuff, like you said, rusted, and it's just like that's what New Orleans is.
Right. Jesse comes up with a pretty good quip, oh, you're cooking, you usually have, the fire extinguisher around here. Good little joke, good puns. And then they sit at the table and they're eating their candy-covered pancakes and trying to decide what's going to happen today.
Yeah.
And there's some good banter here. Well, let's keep looking for God. I still got a bunch of jazz joints. And they're like, well, end up coming to the conversation on how we're going to deal with old 6-shooter.
No, I think we were talking about Laura first.
That's
or,
right. Yeah, Laura. We got another order. Yeah.
it's
He's like,
just-
it's not like I married the girl. Well, you had the hots for her. I mean, Cassidy's cutting his nuts.
Oh man, Cassidy is just dropping them. Like,
And two, just her eyes looking at him.
at first it was like, I'm about to murder you, and then it's like, look, I'll let you save yourself. Oh, okay, no, I'm going to murder you.
Yes. And you didn't have to say very much. Just the look,
Mm-hmm.
And
It's like I wasn't that. I was happy about the lead that she gave us, not about her.
Yeah, I just helped a person out in distress. Da, 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 da. It's
Oh,
not
you
like
just
I
helped-
married her, Tulip, which is like a good pun from Game of Thrones, like I have an armada in 2 good hands,
Yeah. Oh my
you
God.
married the guy, and I didn't. So yeah, it had some good quips in there. Suddenly, you get a little screenshot and you realize that the Saint of Killers Cowboy is at the place.
And bravo to this little girl having the cojones to put this man in the wrong room after she had just seen what he did.
After he basically slaughtered everybody in their house.
Yes.
She's basically homeless, parentless, and everything else.
So bravo.
Bravo. Sends him down to room 19.
Felt so bad for this first guy.
Oh, God.
Pulls out the gun and everything. I was like, oh.
Don't make me shoot you, fool. No.
I've seen
the special effects of him having his hand crushed to the gun,
looking
like a soda can that was crushed.
Oh my God.
My ribs were hurting.
Like, I've seen the gun get crumbled. I've seen a hand get crumbled. I've never seen a hand get molded into a gun.
Yeah, and this guy I was straight chuckling.
And then just like the next one, like he just kicks open the door. He's prepared. This saber. Have we seen the saber yet? Like, I know we talked about it a little bit.
This is the first time he unsheathed the saber.
Oh.
He shoots his gun and it goes through 5-6 walls
and then
it hits the refrigerator and makes the refrigerator kind of bump a little bit.
And stops at freaking Greek yogurt.
At the yogurt. There had to be a purpose behind this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So anyway, Jesse catches a glimpse of the refrigerator bumping,
And just stares at it for a few seconds.
For a few minutes. And the cowboy makes his way room to room. Just the camera angle of him going from the top shot, going into a room, within seconds, blood spurting across the floor, another blood spurting across the floor, and then a head rolling out. I felt like I was watching Into the Badlands.
And hearing the head roll, like the actual, like the thud when it hits, and then the doo-doo-doo-doo. I was
Correct.
like, oh, we've got some attention to detail here.
Yes, very, very
Mr.
much
David
so.
Porter. Well done.
Yeah. So he's working his way down, and he sees that the bullet is in the yogurt. Now, this part, I thought it was super cool. The yogurt was steaming like the bullet was hot.
I was going to say the attention to detail here.
But when he pulled the bullet out, I was disappointed that it did not match the bullet that was stuck in the car from the earlier. Because if you remember, the bullet in the car was much larger, much different. Looked like a Confederate handgun, because the way it was designed.
And so do we think this thing can shoot different types of ammo, or is just not?
I'm going to be honest with you. Jake talked about how you're from hell and it can make a difference and the bullets can be whatever, da-da-da. I'm just calling BS. This was a mistake.
It's like, what's the point?
Yeah, he's the guy shooting what looks to be 45, 50, whatever you want to call them, long Colt, antique handguns. And don't show me a car that's got a bullet that looks like it's a 60 cal,
A 60 cal, like a freaking cannon.
Yeah, a cannon fire that he doesn't have on him. And then you're going to show me this little bitty 9mm that's wadded up inside yogurt. It didn't gel with me.
Like, to me, that's just a continuity error for some unknown reason.
It was, and that bothered me. When I'm so detail oriented, and so when you all are, that was a miscue. The cool seeing the steam effect and all that stuff. And so they get out of there before Cowboy gets in there. So when they're out there by the dumpster, they have to come up with a plan of how to deal with the Cowboy.
And conveniently enough, they go to the library and everything.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
it's like, how did they know his name?
well, they just said Saint of Killers.
Yeah, but like, I mean, I wouldn't have known to immediately just go kind of look for Saint of Killers. Or I mean, did the angel tell him that it was the Saint of Killers?
Correct.
Okay, so they did have that leading everything, but they also called him Cowboy. I'm not going to say we started it here at Bleed TV Podcast, but haven't heard anyone else call him Cowboy before us.
Right.
We made it onto the show. That's all I'm saying.
That's correct. Well, Jesse comes up with the idea that the reason he's doing this, what does he have in it? He thinks he's going to find a way.
They just want to get to know your enemy.
Right.
You know, try to find a weakness or something.
Exactly. So when they go to the library, I love that Tulip pulled out the
audio book.
The audio book.
Well,
the
because
cassette player.
I envisioned us doing this because Jake, he was the audio guy. He was Tulip. Like, we were both just looked at him and been like, really? You're going with an audio book?
Right. Yeah, because that's what he does. There's no doubt. No, the funniest part, the entire episode, the funniest part of the episode, I had to pause it. I was hurting so bad. He says, that is the end of chapter 57. Chapter 58 on, most
Dick Cheney.
Dick Cheney. I mean,
I was dead.
I was just like, this is Rogan humor.
Oh, yes.
This is why we watch this show, for these little tidbits. This is like watching Tom Cruise explode.
Yes,
in the
that's
first
just like
episode
looking for the
bits and seeing the news things on it. This is why Dick Cheney.
Chapter 58, Dick Cheney.
Exactly.
Well, then, like, easily, the second funniest thing was just Cassidy. He was like, so weaknesses. Cold-blooded killer. Has no family. He says something, he's like, I'm not sure if that was really a weakness in this situation, but, it's out there. It was just like, I'm dying. Because he's not listing a single weakness at all.
Yeah. No. If anything, this is what makes him more formidable.
Yeah.
So, I thought it was cool you saw the books and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the cover where it was like a smut book, like a cheap love romance, and it had the Saint of Killers, and his shirt was off, and a beautiful woman,
I did
like
see
that.
that.
And I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Just,
this
the
is another
perfect
example
Rogan
of good humor. Now, I will tell you this, since I am now with the comic book owner, graphic novel owner, 2 or 3 of those pictures are direct pieces of art.
I did want to ask you about
books.
that, because it looked like they were using comic book art.
They
started reading
and
it.
From the Garth Ennis books.
That is awesome.
So they gave props to the artists and the writers of the original comic book with a lot of these scenes right here when you see all this.
Well, because Rogan said he read these comic books as a kid and stuff, him and Goldberg, and like they bonded over them, and so to pay homage to the reason they got into the show, well done.
And so basically, they kind of realized that he is completely soulless.
Yes.
And that his reason is to get his soul to be able to be back with his family. That's who he is.
Yep. And then so you're able to start thinking of like, okay, maybe there's a reason Genesis isn't working on him and everything.
Right. And you basically get to be able to put 2 and 2 together. And that's one of the big unravels of the episode.
And then is this
suddenly Cassidy's like, oh crap, Dennis. And he calls him. He's like, intruder, don't go in, intruder. I was cracking up. And then
I became probably the saddest I've ever been on the show. Like, I went into a real swing of emotions here.
Dude, yeah. And he's like, well, I should have learned French, because this is my son. We were all predicting like he's not a vampire.
I said he's the person that turned Cassidy.
Yeah.
I mean that was my theory.
And so on. For this to be the events was pretty cool.
And so wait, Cassidy's like, I think he said, 114?
Yes.
How old do you think Dennis is?
Dennis looks to be in late 60s, early 70s.
So either Cassidy can have children as a vampire, or he had Dennis right as he got turned. Because, we'd put Cassidy, mid-30s, early 40s?
Yeah, Cassidy...
Like, it's never really said.
In the comic books, he's in his 20s.
Okay.
This Cassidy looks like...
He's lived some
early
life.
30.
So early 30. So even that would be like, that would put Dennis in
80,
80s.
range. Yeah. So, I mean, it's plausible.
Yeah. But just
Plausible.
interesting. But also very sad. Cassidy has not had his red sunglasses.
No?
And like it was very noticeable this one because like he was out with the umbrella and everything.
And like I said before, the Cassidy in the comic book is way different. You know, just a different, the whole, you know, the verbiage and how they speak and like that's a lot different. But, you know, I mean, it's very similar, I'm sorry, and so on. But just it's kind of a different, you know, rationale. Just like Tulip, like in the comic books, Tulip's white, blonde-haired woman, you know, so there you go. Jesse tells him on the phone, don't hurt him, I'm coming, that kind of stuff. Well, then he shows up and
he uses
challenges
Genesis to make sure that he actually hears him.
And he challenges him, you know, like, let's make a deal. You know, I know what you want. You think that deal you're going to get is going to get you anywhere. You're foolish. Go ahead and kill me. I thought it was pretty cool that he was holding Dennis up, you know, above him like that. But did you notice that the CG in it, when he dropped Dennis, if you watch the scene a couple times, his head doesn't match where the body falls. Like the body falls faster than the head falls. Mm-hmm. And so they kind of oopsed on the CG on this part. And I was kind of surprised by that. You know, you didn't catch it.
I mean, it's just AMC's not going to have the highest budget for this show. So,
yeah.
I mean, it makes sense that something like that is what's going to be falling through the cracks in their CGI budget.
All right, here's my next dilemma. You have 1 hour.
Not possible. Look, I was just in New Orleans for Mardi Gras, and I know it's going to be a bad representation of traffic and everything, but you're not getting around that city fast.
The timeline thing, you know, like we're going to keep the 3 people. You have 1 hour. Otherwise, they're all dead. And I'm just scratching my head like.
It takes me 7 minutes to get downstairs. Like, you're giving me an hour?
Just like, what? I just, you know, and he goes into one store. I need a soul. Like, he's completely fluent in the whole situation that you can buy and sell.
Makes perfect sense though. Like by the end, later in the episode, Tulip's like, "Hey, why do you know all of this?" And then he goes, "Family business." And so there's a part of Jesse that we get a little thing that
if you're a comic book reader, it gives you a little bit of that, the what they call family business and all that stuff. But I got to be honest with you, you know, they have diverged from the comic books with what they're talking about.
Okay.
So they're going to new territory with this situation. So I guess we'll see.
It's going to be very interesting to see what they do with all this soul stuff.
I agree.
But then...
So, of course, happenstance, there's the armored truck out there.
You say the devil's name and it appears in the streets.
Right. Because the voodoo shop's like, yeah, this guy's out, this guy's out, that one's out, this one doesn't do it anymore, this one's hanging on by a thread.
He's like, they found a way to market this, do it. They've even fractionated souls. And Jesse was like, you can sell fractions of a soul? And so, like, I don't know, like you said, we had no reason to know why he knew all this stuff about souls and everything. But I kind of liked that he knew all of this and we're going in cold, just baffled.
Right.
And then he gets the call from Tulip in the middle of the road. It's like, hey, you know, how you
How's
doing?
It going?
I'm about to be murdered. You know, are you gonna make it? And he's like,
so he's trying to get in the armored truck people's attention, and they're just giving him the finger. You know? And he's like, how do you break into an armored truck? And then she spits off this list of fertilizer, cell phone, battery. I'm like,
he's like, I'm in the middle of the street. I have none of this. He's like, wait. I can do it.
Yeah, there's a hardware store.
Yep.
What are the odds this armored truck is staying there for him to go long enough to go over there to make a bomb, put it all together, cell phone it, and bomb it just as it's leaving?
About as the odds about of it working. You know, I think those odds are about the same.
Yeah.
But how great was this explosion? Like, he makes this bomb and everything.
It's like...
And
fart in the wind.
You're fully expecting this to be like a massive bomb, and then like you said, it's like, it's just Poof. Not even phased.
Poof. You know. Yeah.
No, I was dying at seeing this bomb go off and just nothing. It's like Jesse's face, just like, oh god. No, babe, I'll figure it out.
Yeah. And I think it's pretty awesome that, a cop car pulls up and he's able to use that to his advantage in the situation. I thought that was pretty neat.
Awesome. Like you said, just the bomb and then the car lights flicker on. You're like, this is actually going to work out in his advantage.
Yes, that's right. He's like, make him get out of the car. And he's like, hurry up, and he starts running. That's when he injects that humor.
This was a very humorous episode without throwing actual jokes in there for most of the part.
Right.
It was like physical. It was how the scene unfolded, and their conveniences they weren't that out of the ordinary.
Mm-hmm. All right, how about Tulip going in there to try to reason with the cowboy? He's like, we need medicine. Let him go. He's sick. Da-da-da. And he picks her up by the chin, neck, what do you want to call it, above his headline.
Mm-hmm.
Again, he's holding her face and not her neck.
Yep.
And, her body was extended away from his hand. And I know you needed Tulip for the scene because it was the full face, but it just... When you just watch Game of Thrones and you see Littlefinger being choked against a wall, and you see Tulip who's free dangling and barely showing like she's distressed, it was another misfire.
Yep.
That's the thing. As good as this episode was, there were some misfires. And that bothers me, man, because they do a good job with the details.
Well, it's like I appreciate them trying these things, but for some reason, they just don't have the capabilities. And maybe it is money, or maybe it's just they're reaching outside of their element,
Right.
And maybe that's why Seth Rogen and Goldberg passed off some of these directors' things, and it just didn't work.
Right.
I don't know. It's tough to say. I want to applaud you for trying, but at some point you got to connect with it, especially when you're doing the same thing in the same episode.
Yeah, exactly. So, of course, Jesse gets in the armored truck, and he's going after this guy like, hey, I need matches. This is a rare one because he's using the bullet. And it finally, I was calling it right here. Like, you got it. It's your own soul. There's no doubt. There's a reason that this guy is the saint of killers and you're the guy who can handle Genesis. There is a reason. And so sure enough, he puts his hair down and, same numbers and there's AB.
Yeah, and he is off by the letter.
What's the least I can give?
1%. And I love how he starts selling them on him. He's like, you won't even miss it.
Yeah. He's still a salesman to the end.
Yep.
Get lost. And they just all start taking off,
But also he says, do you know who you're robbing? And the first time I heard that, I was like, we have Genesis. We don't care. But
I think there's somebody important.
Well, back in season 1, we were always curious as to the white suit man, right?
You talking about episode 1?
Was it episode 1?
Yeah, he wasn't in season 1. Yeah, his name's Her Star. And
so you think
with the scars on his eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Knowing the comic book, I don't think he has anything to do with it.
Okay.
But that's not to say there is, because there is no definitive answer to that.
True.
So I'm not spoiling anything, So.
Okay. I just remembered him, and we always like, man, we need more of this guy because we just never
considering what her star is in the comic books, for what it is like that, I don't see him as a person who has business
in souls,
Earth, or souls, or whatever you want to call it. So time's up.
Yeah.
And Cassie's not Cassie, but Tulip's first one pulled out, and he pulls the old blade out, and I guess he's just going to hack her down.
I mean, it looks like, this guy chopped down a TV in one swing.
Yeah.
So what's this? It's a television. This is the thing. I was like, that's not what my first explanation would have been for the TV. I'd be like, what do you mean? It's an audition tape, clearly. Duh. And Jesse's first
that dry humor.
Yeah.
You're dealing with a soulless killer,
But anyway, like you said, we pull out the saber, getting ready to hack her.
When you're talking about laughing, it's him grabbing it with his hands and cutting his fingers off.
Like a slow pull off the bone.
Yes.
Like, maybe I'll forgive everything just because of the CG of the blood squirting and then like the flow and just like seeing the fingers slowly just get blunt cut off of his hand. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, no, this was cool. You know, like him grabbing it and then all of a sudden they all come off at one time, like a bunch of chiclets falling on the ground would have been terrible. Them, like you said, slowly going through him as he went and him screaming and, you know, that was cool. And just rolling, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. You know, like I said, it's just cliche with the timing thing. You know, 1 hour really. And so he gets him in there and he explains to him, you got it, and he gives it to him. And that was what was going through my mind the whole time. You know, before we even came to the revelation is you give this guy a soul, then he becomes controllable.
Yep.
And so he gives it to him, his massive 1% pill there. And
same size as 15%. You know, no big deal.
I noticed that. Another little issue, but anyway, and it basically leads to the cowboy being under control because now he has 1% of a soul.
And Jesse has his entire monologue as the only man without a soul. No wonder you can't get into heaven. Oh, but now you have a soul. Look at what I can do. And the cowboy was not a happy camper at this point.
No. And you know, the sad thing here is that he did all this, and this was a monumental moment for Jesse and so on. But I like the preacher versus the cowboy dynamic.
Well, we loved it because we knew we weren't going to stay in one place for too long, and now we have
things moving along. And now it's like the cowboy storyline is put to bed. You know, I mean, he puts him in the armored truck, drives him out into the swamp, drives him in there. It's an airtight deal. And
he doesn't need to eat, pee, or anything.
So it's like being trapped for eternity in a swamp.
Well, like my sister-in-law, she was like, well, until somebody finds him, you know, and me and my brother look over, we're like, he's in a swamp in the middle of Louisiana.
Exactly.
He's never going to be found. Like, there's no...
And another thing, too, is if you're a comic book reader, that this whole deal of being trapped in a box container under the water in the swamp has a huge symbolism to something, you know, to Jesse's past.
Okay.
And there's some serious foreshadowing here. I can't really tell you because it's spoilery.
Yeah.
Based on the comic book, you know, if they go that route. But remember this.
So something to be excited about?
Yes. There's, you know, in the comic book, there's of his past. This is a big deal.
Okay.
And so I'm curious if they're going to get to show this, or are they just doing this like Game of Thrones where they throw these little nuggets in there to show you homage to something you know about in the comic book, but they don't actually cover it. So it's going to be curious to see how they do that part, and I'm really wondering. And so we'll see.
Oh man, I'm excited.
Yeah, so I mean, it's going to be kind of a cool ride.
And I liked how the cowboy convinced him out of sending him to hell. Because, you know, he's like, now I'm just going to send you to hell. I've already told you I've done it before. And he's like, go ahead, because you'll be going right there with me. This is your soul. And I was like, ooh, nice little throwback there.
Correct.
You know, to save yourself and give yourself a fighting chance.
That's right. Kind of caught in a catch-22 there, you know. So we'll see.
And that's why, like, I was curious as if Jesse would be able to do it because you can't kill him. And so he came up with a creative solution, in my opinion, sending them down into that swamp.
He did.
But now I'm worried that we're going to be stuck in New Orleans for this entire season.
I'm afraid so. That's what it looks like. I think they're going to spend the majority of what's going on in Louisiana. And
which there's nothing wrong. Like, we've had beautiful set pieces.
It could be something really cool if they do it right.
Okay.
Could be. But I'm not holding my breath. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm really kind of worried.
And then, you know, he grabs the saber and both of his guns.
And we're back in the steaming shower.
Yeah. And he hides them in the same place. There's no way I'm putting both of these guns and the saber in the same exact hole.
Well, he's hiding them in a hole in a tiled bathroom floor. You know,
there's a lot wrong with.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to figure out what the significance is of the location, the shower, the bed, whatever, the van, the bathroom, whatever. And I'm trying to understand that. I'm hoping there's some kind of like, am I missing something why this is important? Because we showed a shower scene earlier that it didn't have anything much to go with it, and then we had this same thing again to hide weapons, and so it's very curious to see.
There's got to be something to it, because they're not going to do it twice. And it mean nothing, but like I just have no idea what this could be. Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, there's no telling. There's absolutely no telling. So, we shall see.
Yeah,
I guess, and that's kind of the credits on this thing. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't even watch the preview. I was like, I was like, I'm a little homage to Cash here. I don't really want to know what's going on down the road on this next episode. I'm really not,
It makes the episodes a lot more enjoyable, I'm telling you.
Yeah, I'm giving it a shot. I can't do it with Game of Thrones we're covering right now, but Preacher, I'm going to give it a shot.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to slowly work you into this because, man, not having any clue anymore, because we know we're going to watch it. And, like, that, it's ruined, like, 6 episodes for you and Jake, being able to watch these previews because y'all know what's going to happen.
Correct.
And I'm through with that life.
I hear you. Guys, what did y'all think of the episode? Y'all can always hit us up on Facebook and
Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We have
Gmail, BleedTV@gmail. We do a lot of our stuff. A lot of the stuff we decide to talk about that's kind of extras on the content are from fans talking to us about things. And I'd love to hear from you guys. The more the merrier, kind of adds into it. And just kind of having that conversation really makes the show even more enjoyable to pass, opinions back and forth and so on. And so don't hesitate. Give us a shout. Give us a buzz. Let us know what you think. And, we kind of go from there, and I'm thinking that we might even try to sprinkle in a little more of a comic book comparison and maybe make it as like a little spoiler section towards the end, where I could let you know what I kind of learned a little bit and how the book comparisons to the show and what this kind of foreshadows without kind of giving you details of where it's going, but more or less, give you some more insight about some.
And that way we can be a little bit more spoilery and have a little bit of fun with it.
Absolutely. And so if that's something y'all like or want to get into or whatever, maybe we add as a little segment on the next episode. But other than that, guys, I think we're just going to call it a night. Looking forward to the next episode. This is Bleed TV, and I'm Zach.
And I'm Cash.
And we'll see y'all guys next week.